Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Potsie Chronicles.
Yes, and for many weeks, I've been wondering how they had Happy Days as a mid-season replacement, and they went months without having a new Happy Days episode because it started in January 1974. I looked up season 1, episode 6, which was what I thought was the last episode of season 1, episode 6, which was in February 14th, I believe, 1974, which would be about a month. So it really didn't make sense to me. How was Happy Days first season only 6 episodes? And then I gave all these things about what did they do? How did they do this? Well, it wasn't the end of season 1. Season 1 actually continued. Now, how did I not know this? Well, one, I'm going to start this off by saying I have done very minimal research. I want these episodes to be new to me, even though I've seen them. It's been years. I don't want anything that's going to tip anything off, except for the things like, the premiere date, those types of things. Now, here's how I found out it wasn't the end of season 1, even though that's what we said last week, and I've been saying that for weeks now. In case you haven't heard some of our previous episodes, please go back and listen to them. We really appreciate that. But season 1 is not currently on any streaming services, at least that we have or that I could find. So I got the DVD set from the library, as I said up before. And I say set now because now I know it's a set. And we haven't really watched DVDs, I would say probably in years, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Episode 6 last week. So we've been doing one of these a week. It's not like the Tonight Show, or there was some show that I think did a Thursday and a Friday show, so they didn't have to come in on Friday. I don't know if it was the Tonight Show, but anyways, they did 2 at a time. We've just been doing 1 a week. So it has been legitimately 6 weeks, almost 2 months of this. Initially, I took out the DVD, put it in, like I said, it's been a couple years since we've even used DVDs and, thought nothing of it. So I go to get the DVD out to take it back to the library and get season 2. And what do I see? Next to the kind of open container where this DVD would go, as I took it out, I see another DVD, and I'm thinking, well, that's weird. And then I notice I flipped it over, and there's yet another DVD. So a total of 3 DVDs. Now, what I thought was at first, this has maybe director's commentary. So DVDs back, at least in the 90s, were really big for having deleted scenes, director's commentary, those types of things. I don't know about TV shows. I don't even know if I'm sure I've seen TV shows on it, but from movies. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put in this DVD and, maybe we'll see some bloopers. Maybe we'll do a Patreon thing ultimately and just look at these bloopers one day. But no, I put in the second DVD and there were more episodes. And then I'm thinking, well, I guess that makes 100% sense if this show became popular. I wouldn't think in the 70s that they would cancel a show and bring it back. They didn't have the online presence, maybe that Family Guy. I don't know how Family Guy kept coming back, but 1974, I know they definitely didn't have the internet maybe they had postcards or something on it. But needless to say, that never happened because there were more episodes in season 1. So a couple points here. Point 1, we did not make it through season 1 yet. I hope we do. Point 2, I've been wrong for the last maybe 5 episodes that season 1 was a short season. I feel like it's a shorter season, starting in January instead of September, but not a short season that they burned off 6 episodes in a month.
I remember you were saying stuff too, something feels wrong about this being 6 episodes.
Yes, something was wrong. It wasn't just 6 episodes. So I take full responsibility and credit for not knowing that Happy Days was more than 6 episodes. I would have figured it would have been. But yeah, again, it was almost 2 months ago that I put the DVD in. I totally forgot that if I even saw that there was another DVD, I probably did. But, I was pretty much trying to figure out how to even get the thing to play. But yes, there are more episodes of season 1. So if you go back and listen, you will hear me saying that there are only 6 episodes. I do not want to, and I can't erase those. Kind of a combination of both, because I'm sure it's littered throughout all the episodes where I keep saying, oh, there's only 6 episodes in season 1. And, I'm not going to go back and erase and do all that. So just in case you go back, and we hope you do if you haven't, that's all completely wrong. Okay, so let's move on to season 1, still episode 7, which was called Fonzie Drops In. Now, this is something we like to do every week. I like to ask my son, we kind of look at the title, then I ask him, think about what you think this episode is going to be about. Now, before we do that, I want to say, I thought this was going to be easy. Fonzie drops in. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So I'm wondering what you thought it was going to be.
So what I thought it was going to be is this is pretty easy.
Yes.
Considering the other episode title names. Fonzie drops in. I was just thinking the opposite of dropout is drop in. So dropping out would be leaving school and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I was thinking dropping in, he'd be coming back to school.
Wait, so you actually thought that was him coming back to school?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, I got to tell everybody, spoiler alert, that's what this episode was. We're going to talk about it, but see, I thought he was going to drop into the Cunningham house, because I know that he met Howard in a previous episode. We don't know if he met Marion or saw Howard after that. Maybe it wasn't something in an episode, but maybe in the Happy Days universe, he met them both. So I thought he was going to drop in their house. I just thought, hey, Fonzie's dropping in.
I mean, I'm not going to say how yet, since we're getting into there.
Yes.
But he does kind of do that.
Well, yeah, he does do that, but I had no idea he was going to be going back to school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's amazing that you knew that that's what it meant, because I just thought, hey, Fonzie's dropping in. Guess who's coming to visit? And it was Potsie. It's hey, Fonzie's dropping in. Hey, Fonz. You know what I mean? It was going to be that. And yeah, we'll get to that about him actually doing that, but that's what I thought the plot was. So, any thoughts over anything before we jump into the episode?
So, when we put in the second disc, there was a different picture in the jukebox.
Yes, it was still Richie and I think Fonzie, right?
There was Richie, Fonzie, Howard, and
Marion.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marion. Okay, so we get started. We still have Rock Around the Clock, as I previously mentioned. Ralph Mouth, Don Most, and Henry Winkler as the Fonz are still in the end credits, which I don't know if this will hopefully we'll see if this happens throughout all of season 1, but that's where we're still at now. We get started, and it's kind of frozen on a basketball court. Now, the thing I noticed about this basketball court, did you notice this too? It had the key, but it didn't have the 3-point line. Now, the 3-point line, I'm pretty sure, was introduced by the ABA, probably in the 70s. I know the NBA didn't always have the 3-point line, but it's just interesting. And of course, this was the 50s, so why would they have a 3-point line? But it's just interesting to see a basketball court without the 3-point line. You know what I mean?
So did they not have 3-pointers back then?
I mean, they might have had them somebody maybe is on the other side of the court. They're I'm going to shoot this, but I doubt they knew the 3-point. But no, they didn't have 3-point. I believe the 3-pointers came in the 70s. It came from the ABA, NBA merger. And I don't know when the ABA started, honestly. But it was kind of odd to just see a basketball court without the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So we have a freeze frame. We hear Ralph Mouth's voice. I can't remember. Was he saying I'm funny, or was he saying pass the ball to me, or was he saying something else? Do you remember?
He was definitely saying something.
Yeah.
I do not remember.
He might have been saying pass the ball. So Ralph Mouth's playing basketball. I believe Richie and Potsie are also playing, right?
Yeah.
Is Potsie playing in a sweater?
I don't remember, but that would be really weird considering he'd have to be really sweaty considering all the movement he'd be doing.
Yeah, all of them. I feel like they were all wearing. Yeah, Ralph Mouth was wearing his Red Gems jacket, which I don't know what the temperature was in Milwaukee there. It was a sunny day, but even if it was like 50 degrees, I would still think he'd be hot.
I do think it can tend to be cold in Milwaukee though.
It can, but all that movement, do you know what I mean? Like, I know what you're saying, but it was a sunny day. It was, them running around in their jackets. I feel like if they were really playing a game of basketball in their jackets, like even if it was like 30 degrees, they would have been a little sweaty,
Yeah, there was something on that court that was missing.
Okay, tell me.
And it was the great almighty Chuck Cunningham.
Yeah, how can you have a basketball scene in Happy Days nonetheless without Chuck Cunningham? And I think that's what you even said, like, is Chuck there? And then I was looking, I'm like, oh, no, Chuck, because then they kind of dispersed afterward, and you can see, like, Richie, you can see, I think, Potsie. I'm not 100% sure. I think Potsie was playing, but Ralph Malph was definitely playing because he was, like, saying pass the ball after it unfroze. I don't know how they had it without Chuck.
Maybe he was at an away game.
Yeah, and he's in college, and this was high school, but someone that wasn't in high school that was watching the game was the Fonz. He's there in his kind of white, would you say? Not leather jacket, still not the leather jacket, but kind of windbreaker with maybe not even a windbreaker. I don't know what you'd call it, but with the collar up. Yeah. So he's there and he's watching the high schoolers play basketball, which, like, nowadays, if somebody wasn't in high school and they were like maybe a grown person, wouldn't you think that, I don't know, that would be a little suspicious?
I mean, wait, isn't he their age or
this? Yeah, here. Okay, let's get into this. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I feel like the Fonz is older. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't really say. So we can go ahead and let's pretend that Fonz is their age. And they do mention he has a tattoo. He is working as a mechanic. Now, mechanics can be in high school, so we can see that. I don't know in the 1950s when they gave tattoos. I believe you have to be 18 now, so maybe in the 1950s they were, again, lax with laws and just gave them to anybody that wanted to come in. Still, doesn't he seem older than them?
In a way,
could be wrong.
I could see it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to say, for the sake of everything, not knowing, I'm sure, again, with a simple Google search, which probably I should start doing a little bit of, that they would tell us Fonzie's age. But let's say he's the same age. So he's there watching. Potsie tells everyone that he got a B+ on his test, and he's very excited. And then Fonzie, as they disperse, Fonzie says to Richie, Potsie also litters. He then crumples up his B+ that he's so proud of paper and throws it on the ground. Do you think that they had like PSAs back in the 1950s, like give a hoot, don't pollute? Have you ever seen that PSA?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there would be like an owl and it would say, give a hoot, don't pollute. And it would be about people not, throwing... it wouldn't be about people not throwing their tests. It would be about people not littering. I think it'd be littering. I guess that's polluting. Polluting seems more like, I don't know. But yeah, so it would be give a hoot, don't pollute. Apparently they didn't have anything that told people not to litter. There is a trash can nearby, though, that we see. But Potsie just decides to throw it on the ground.
You think since he's so proud of it, you think he'd keep it?
Yeah, you think he'd put it on the refrigerator. Maybe like Mrs. Potsie would put it on the refrigerator for him, that would be like, oh, Potsie got a B+, but no, he throws it on the ground and just walks away. So Fonzie picks up the paper and he looks at it and he goes, hey, well, he doesn't go A. He goes, hey, I can get an A on this easy. And then Richie's idea is, hey, because in case, you don't know or haven't heard our previous episodes, Fonzie has dropped out of school. We might have even mentioned it at the beginning of this episode. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Then Richie's like, hey, Fonzie, you dropped out. Why don't you be a drop in and come back to school? And he talks Fonzie into coming back. Like he was telling Fonzie, didn't he also say to Fonzie that, he could show the girls his tattoo? I think that's how we found out he's a tattoo.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you could. He's like, well, here's where I think that Fonzie's older. Because Richie goes, there's a new crop of girls. So either he's talking about, like, there's new girls, like, freshman girls, let's say, since he left, or he's saying like there's a new crop, like a completely new crop from when he dropped out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm thinking maybe he's older, because he didn't specify what new crop meant, whether it meant that there was like a new freshman class since he's been in there, or whether like it's a completely new class because Fonzie's so much older. That's where it kind of got on like, So he ends up talking Fonzie into doing it, and they go to the principal's office. So we cut to the principal's office. Fonzie and Richie are there, and I think Richie does most of the talking, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He tries to talk for him.
Yeah, he's talking for him, which makes me think Richie's doing a lot of the talking. Like he did a lot of the talking in the Deadly Dares. You know, I mean, Potsie did too, but he's doing a lot of persuading. He persuaded the demons to let them in, or at least give them a chance to come in, and he's persuading the principal. But the principal is okay with it, which makes me think, like, could you do that now? Like, could you drop out and then either like later or years later, we don't know how old the Fonz is, go to the principal with like your friend and go like, hey, I want to come back?
I mean, I think it's a different scenario considering it's the Fonz, you know? He's so cool.
Yeah, they probably rewrote the rules for him. So even in the 1950s, you probably couldn't do that. But since it was the Fonz, they're like, hey, we can use this on our campus. So the principal is more concerned about the Fonz looking at his car, right? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
And then Fonz is like, well, you keep driving with your foot on the clutch. That's the problem. Principal thinks that's great. Fonzie, you'll be back in school, and he'll be able to go back in tomorrow. So like no paperwork, no like waiting period, no references.
Didn't Richie say something when he was speaking for him, saying like, "Oh yeah, should I mention that tattoo?"
Oh yeah, that's right. He said, was that with the principal or was that before the principal?
That was with the principal, and I remember he had a shocked face.
The principal had a shocked face. I wonder nowadays if like you went to a high school principal and just were talking about tattoos, if that would be. I wonder how many principals have tattoos. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good
question.
At
this point, some principals probably have like those arm sleeves.
I feel it would be very unprofessional for a principal to have one, probably. So.
Well, yeah, to be showing it. You know what I mean? To like be going around in like a muscle shirt.
Yeah.
With their arm sleeves showing. They'd probably have to have like one of those, even on like the hot days, like Potsie having to have like a sweater on, even when it's 80 degrees, so you can't see their tattoo sleeve. But I would imagine, I'm going to say the percentage of principals with tattoos in the United States of America. Oof. Let me see here.
Should I say mine or?
Yeah, you say yours, because I'm
40%.
I'm going to go 60. I think you're probably right, though. I wonder if we could Google that and see. I wonder how they would know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's definitely more. It's got to be more than 0, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think in the 50s it was probably 0.
Yeah.
It might have been more than 0, though. It's interesting. But yeah, that principal, the reason we say this is that principal looks so shocked. So again, I don't know. He may have been the same age as them, or he may have been older. They don't really say. He absolutely seems older, I think. Don't you?
Yeah.
So he's definitely more worldly, which is what they say in the episode later. So he is going to come back to school. Easy as pie. We cut to the next day. The teacher is sitting at her desk. You know, Ralph Mouth is sitting down, Potsie, Richie. How do you think that those friends get in the same class the whole time? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, like I'd have some classes with my friends, some with like other people. And like, but it seems like from, I guess this is the only episode we've seen, is that those guys are all in the same class together.
Yeah, that's quite something.
Yeah.
You think they would have thought, oh, these guys are good friends. We got to split them up. Somehow.
Yeah, you would absolutely think like Ralph Mouth and Potsie would have to be split up. And I think they were sitting right next to each other, although she did say it was alphabetical order. But yeah, and then that could be like a plot point. They could say like, oh, they had to move Ralph Mouth into calculus because did they have calculus in the 50s? I'm sure they did, right?
I'm not sure. They could have. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure they had calculus, but I wonder if they had calculus. What kind of classes do you think they had in high school in the 50s?
Well, I do know that they had biology, considering they said that.
Yes. Didn't Potsie say, like, he had to dissect a frog in biology right after lunch, and some girl goes, "Ooh, gross."
That's crazy that they had dissecting a frog back then.
Yeah. I feel like that's always the plot point in any sitcom is like biology and they have to dissect a frog.
Yeah.
It definitely was in this one. This one, it wasn't really a plot point. It was kind of more of a thing. So, yeah. So they had biology. They had whatever this was. It history that he was in with? I don't even know.
I think it was.
Yeah. So they had history and biology. We know that. I would assume they had math, don't you think?
I would assume they had math, English.
Yeah. What else would they have had back then? Probably physical education, don't you think?
Yeah, they probably would have, considering they had that basketball court.
Yeah, they had to have that for something. Although I don't
Yeah.
know if that was technically for a class or just to have the kids come out and play.
With the Fonz watching.
Yeah, with the Fonz watching. Yeah, what else would they have had? What did we say? History?
Yeah.
English?
Chemistry?
Yeah, maybe chemistry. Would chemistry and biology be like the same in the 1950s?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting to think what they'd have in the 1950s. But Fonzie comes in and the teacher calls him sir, which does make me think that he's older. See, here's why I think he was older, because of all these things. One, there's a new crop of girls to the Fonz. Two, he has a tattoo, but again, that could be anything in the 50s. They could have tattooed whoever. And three, wait, let's go back to that. Did they have tattoo parlors in the 50s, or do you think that was like an underground thing? Did they have underground things in the 50s? Like, do you think they would have had like somebody with a tattoo gun like in the alleyway in the 1950s? You know what I mean?
They could have had like tattoo shops, but
That's what
maybe
I'm
not
thinking.
many.
But where would they be? Like, do you think Howard would want his hardware store next to a tattoo shop? Now, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, like, if Howard would. Can you imagine Howard's hardware store being next to a tattoo parlor? I feel like he'd go insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So that doesn't mean that there weren't any. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think of 1950s people, what they would think. So
that'd be a good episode, just like a tattoo parlor just like moves in next to his shop.
Yeah. Yeah. And we should write that with one of our alternative Happy Days episodes. But also, like, who else is getting tattoos? Let's just say the Happy Days universe. We know Fonzie has a tattoo. That principal apparently did it because he looked shocked. Who else would be getting tattoos in that? Do you think Chuck has a tattoo?
He might.
Like a basketball one? He'd be like someone that would have his basketball number, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like CC number 12 or whatever number he is.
I feel like, I don't know. Do you think Ralph Malph would have one?
Yes, that's a good point. I think Ralph Malph would absolutely have a tattoo. Do you think he'd have like a joke tattoo?
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, like he wouldn't have like whatever Fonzie has. He'd have like something that I don't even know what a joke tattoo would be, but something. Like maybe a knock-knock joke.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't even know how he would accomplish it. But yes, I think Ralph Malph would have a tattoo. Who else? I think Howard might have a tattoo.
Howard?
No, maybe not. We have to think.
I feel like he'd be very against tattoos.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, going back to that, like if a tattoo parlor moved in next to his hardware store, he probably would not be having that. I wonder what's next to his hardware store. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like he'd be very judgy about whatever's next. So Fonzie comes in. So she called him sir, new crop of girls, and the tattoo. The tattoo, again, could just be anything because it was the 50s. But those two things absolutely made me think that he was older. And then he's like, no, I'm a student here. Then didn't he want to be called the Fonz, even though like his slip said Arthur Fonzarelli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, call me the Fonz.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, have a seat. And then he goes to have a seat and he starts moving everybody around. He's like, hey, I think you'd be more comfortable over there. Then he's like moving some of the girls next to him. And then she's like, hey, what are you doing moving all these people? They're in alphabetical order. And then he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm really surprised that he apologized. Do you know what I mean? You can't really see the Fonz saying that he's, and I think that actually is something later where he can't, maybe it's something different, but yes.
You think the teacher would be apologizing to the Fonz?
Yeah, exactly. The teacher would be saying, oh, I'm sorry, Fonzie. You move anybody you want to. But it ended up that, like, it was going to be too tedious, rather, to move everybody back. So they kept everybody in their different spots. So we cut to Arnold's at night. Fonzie is apparently asleep on his motorcycle. He's at least sprawled out laying down on his motorcycle. And Richie comes up. And Fonzie says, "Hey, Richie, I need help with my homework." And Richie's like, "Oh, I'll be happy to help you." And he's like, "Yeah, you're going to do it for me."
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so Richie ends up doing his homework, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of going back to school, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you wanted to go back to school, you would do the work, you know?
And not have someone else do it.
Yeah, because if you're already out of school, then it would be like, oh, I don't want to do that work. I'm not going back. Do you know what I mean? But, like, if you want to go back, you have to know that there's going to be work.
It's also kind of crazy because back then, if you wanted your homework done, you would, like, try and get someone else to do it. And now it's just, like, you could just use ChatGPT, and it does it for you.
Yeah, and we're not condoning that.
Yeah, no.
So if you're listening to this, if you're a child listening to this, please don't do that. Please do your own homework. But here's the other thing I was thinking of. They did not have computers back then. I mean, they might have had computers, but it was like one of those things that was, as big as a house. But I seriously doubt the Cunninghams did. Did the teacher not see that Fonz's homework was in Richie's handwriting if he did it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And also, did he use the same answers as well?
Yeah, if he, like, let's say they did a book report on, I don't know, Mark Twain. Mark Twain had to be out in the 1950s, right? I feel like that's the 1800s. So, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so let's just say Mark Twain's out. I'm pretty sure it was. Wait, Mark Twain's an author.
Oh, my God.
Hold on. Huckleberry Finn, right? Mark Twain wrote Huckleberry Finn. Wait a minute. I think I need Richie to do my homework for me. Wait, Mark Twain was the author who wrote Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, right? Okay, let's just say, and not the Rush song, Tom Sawyer. Let's just say Huckleberry Finn, right? I'm pretty sure that was out in the 1950s. Okay, so I'm going somewhere with this, believe it or not. So, Huckleberry Finn, the book, right? This is history class, but go with me. Huckleberry Finn, they have to write a book report on Huckleberry Finn. Yes. So Richie needs to write 2 separate book reports, right?
Yeah.
Because one for the Fonz and one for him, because he can't write the same book report.
Yeah.
Because she'd be like, hey, this is the same book report that the Fonz turned in. So he has to do double the work.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of getting to what you're saying about, like, having the same answers. Although I guess if they were doing a history worksheet, they could technically have the same answers, but it would all be in Richie's handwriting.
You think the Fonz would use ChatGPT?
Yes. Don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he would certainly do it. Yes. I mean, if he wants Richie to do his homework, I feel like he would absolutely do ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That should be another episode now, is the Fonz uses ChatGPT.
Like,
we're coming up with all
we could have a modernized Happy Days where they do all these newer things now. Like, for example, instead of using Richie, he uses ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like we've done so much legwork for these Hollywood producers. We gave them listen to last week's episode, Scream X Happy Days mashup, which will be a blockbuster, but also a reboot of Happy Days, which will be huge, which would feature the Fonz using ChatGPT, among many other plots that we had.
Yeah.
Among Potsie as lost day coming back from the Marine Stag Party. That was one, too.
Yeah.
Now, if you did that modernized, then he could find an Uber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe there's something with his Uber where, like, the Uber guy entraps him in the car and because he doesn't give him a 5-star review. I don't know if 5 stars is the most for Uber. Whatever the biggest.
Or maybe he doesn't... Wait. I don't know if you have to pay before or anything, but maybe he doesn't pay him or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I'm sure Potsie probably didn't have money at the Marine Stag Party because he was waiting for Richie. Yeah, maybe he doesn't have the money.
Or give him a tip.
There could be like 20 episodes of just Potsie coming back from the Marine Stag Party. This is amazing. I hope you're listening, Hollywood producers, and you do this Happy Days reboot. You're welcome. So getting back to the actual show, Richie's going to do his homework for him. So then we cut to the morning, apparently, because Joni's eating breakfast. Richie comes in for breakfast. Marion mentions that Howard forgot his sandwich, and Joni says he didn't forget it. He hates that. sandwich that you make. And then even Richie knew, and then Marion's distressed because she did not know that Howard didn't like, was it deviled ham, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, didn't like deviled ham, which you'd think, it seems like they've been married a while. You think, she'd know what some of his likes and dislikes. What do you think?
Yeah.
So then Richie just comes in and he's going to get a jelly roll, not the jelly roll singer / apparently wrestler nowadays, but a jelly roll from Potsie. Then Joni mentions she wants to get to school because someone's going to show him a book of where babies come from. And Marion is very distressed still and decides to give Joni a ride to school.
Family show, by the way, bringing it back from episode 1.
There's a lot going on in Happy Days for a family show in 1974. I wonder if they even had like censors in 1974. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I know they have an FCC and something else I can't even think of. But censors, yeah, like people that might censor something, they're like, oh, you can't get away with that. But yeah, apparently it's anything goes in Happy Days.
Then I remember it's like, I can explain it to you in the car or something. And Joni says something like, it's not the same without the pictures.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. See, that's why it's good we're both watching this. Yeah, we got to take notes. But yes, that is wild. So then we cut to the high school, I guess you'd say parking lot entrance. Now, here's the thing that I was wondering. How do I say this? The front of the school kind of looked like a studio, which I would imagine that this was filmed on a studio. But what I'm trying to say is when I say studio is they had like arches like before you go into the school, which is weird. Like not arches in the school, but like it's at Jefferson High School. They had like these 3 arches you'd have to enter to get into school. You know what I mean? And I've never seen a high school like that had an arch, 3 arches before you went in.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of strange.
Yeah. So again, I do realize it's probably not at a real high school. It was probably filmed on a studio. I'm saying probably, but I'm pretty sure it was because we didn't do any research. I didn't do any research, but that was just odd.
It could have been something that they did in the 50s.
Yeah, that's true. When they had like all these classes, maybe in like the 1950s, because there probably aren't a lot of high schools from the 1950s still standing. There's probably a few, but maybe in the 1950s they were like, hey, you know what would be great for these high schools? Arches. And then they'd be like, yeah, let's put up 3 arches that they have to enter before they go into school. That's definitely possible. Good point.
Yeah.
So Fonzie rides in on his bike with a lady and he wants to talk to Richie, so he tells the lady friend to go find him a 4-leaf clover.
What are even the chances of finding a 4-leaf clover? I know it's very hard to find.
I think that was the whole point, is he wanted to get rid of her.
No, I understand.
No, I know, but yeah, I know what you're saying. What if she would have found it like immediately?
Yeah,
you know
that would be something. Like, found it.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So the chances, like you said, aren't good, but there still is a chance. You know what I mean?
He probably would have said to find another one.
Yeah, exactly. He would have had something because he's the phone. So Richie's like, hey, I can't keep doing your homework, Fonzie, because I can't even do my own. So Richie was suffering his own grades by just doing the Fonz's work. He couldn't even do his own. He was so bogged down by doing all of Fonzie's work. And Fonzie, like, it's like, oh, God, is Fonzie going to, like, choke him? You know what I mean? And then get suspended? Is that what's going to happen for the rest of it? But no, Fonzie was actually cool about it. Well, he's always cool. But Fonzie was like, hey, that's all right. And then, like, didn't Richie offer to tutor him for the exam? And Fonzie got all mad. He's like, hey, what do you mean tutoring? What'd you just say to me, Cunningham?
I think he was confused by it.
Yeah, but I feel like he was also offended by the word tutor. So he accepts his invitation to tutor, and then he's going to go to the Cunningham home for dinner, and then he's going to tutor him afterward.
Yeah.
And then his lady friend comes back and says she didn't find a 4-leaf clover. And then doesn't it get rid of her again or something?
I think he's like, oh, that's all right.
Oh, okay. Something. We cut to the Cunningham house. Apparently, Fonzie also said he had to work on somebody's headers, and he might be a little late. Everybody's at the dinner table. Howard's sitting at the head of the table.
The tribal chief.
Yes. Acknowledge Howard.
Yes.
And Joni, for whatever reason, is wearing a pair of Mickey Mouse ears. They don't really explain why, do they?
No, but I do know that they're like, take those off.
Yeah, they did make her take them off. I mean, it was the 1950s. I guess, I don't know. I mean, I guess children's might have worn them back then, but it was just interesting that for some reason she was wearing them. And then Richie comes in and like Marion's all nervous that her mashed potatoes are getting stiff. She's like, where is this guy? Did they call him Fonzie? Do you remember? Did they call him Fonzie? Howard must have known him, right?
I mean, I do remember Howard would call him a dropout.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing we didn't say last week. I think we totally forgot it. Remember when they wanted to join the demons and Howard was like, oh, that's great. You're following the advice of a dropout.
Yeah.
So I might have to go back and change it to horrible. Is it horrible, Howard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might have to change my vote from last week. But
especially when you got the great bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Put some respect on Bag's name. So,
yeah.
No, he does know them because he does say nice to see you. I mean, we're getting there, but he does say nice to see you again. But Marion is concerned her mashed potatoes are getting stiff. Fonzie's running a little late. Fonzie comes in his work coveralls and he says, oh, I'm sorry I'm not dressed up for this because my thing went late. Oh, also, kind of going back to the beginning, wasn't one of the reasons that Fonzie wanted to come back to school was he didn't have any friends? Like, he had them as friends, but the only friend he had was like a 70-year-old he got beers with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Richie said, that's too adult.
Yeah. Yeah, Richie said that's too adult. But if he's getting beers, again, see, there's reason four, I think it might be. But again, who knows in the 50s what the
age
legal drinking age was. Yeah. So Fonzie comes in with his coveralls, apologizes, and he says nice to see you again, which makes you think that he's met both of them before. We know he's met Howard, but he's met both of them.
Wait, was the last time that he met Howard, was that with the race?
Yeah, it was the second episode.
Yeah.
So we know he's met Howard before. Yeah, but he does say nice to see you again. So then Fonzie comes in and he sits down in Howard's seat.
And I think Howard's even all stressed out. He's like, he's sitting in my seat, isn't he? Or something.
Yeah, he was not happy that Fonz. I mean, again, most people would not disrespect the Fonz, but Howard doesn't care. Howard's Howard Cunningham.
Yeah.
So he wants a seat back, but Marion's like, oh, Howard, he's our guest. Let him sit there. So then Fonzie directs Joni to sit at a different. So Fonzie's directed everybody to sit somewhere else. So Howard's sitting by Joni. Joni's happy because she never sits by her father because he always sits at the head of the table. And they're all sitting down. Then Fonzie makes a thing like, hey, these mashed potatoes are great. They're stiff just like at the diner.
Was Joni still wearing the Mickey Mouse ears, or did she put them on and then Marion's just like, take those off?
Yeah, at some point she did make him take them off. I'm not sure when, though. Yeah.
It might have been both times.
Yeah. So
he grabs the wrench out. I don't really remember why he grabbed it out.
Yeah.
I think maybe he was like describing his job as a mechanic, maybe.
He was talking about a movie, too. Like, they were talking about the Wild Ones and Marlon Brando. Oh, also, didn't Joni, I don't know if this was this night. Yeah, it was before he came there. Remember, Joni called Fonzie a hood?
Yeah.
And then they're like, not everyone that rides a motorcycle is a hood. And she kept saying, Fonzie's a hood.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they were asking him about a movie, or maybe they were asking about something, but he got a wrench out. Yeah. He said if he was in that movie, he would have cracked one of the actors over the head or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah, it was that.
Yes. So he starts acting like he's going to hit, he's not acting like he's going to hit anything then over the head, but he's just like kind of play acting with his wrench. And then she asks him if he has a zip gun in his coveralls. Isn't she Joni? She being Joni? Yeah. So
I do remember, like, Marion said something. I think she was saying to bring that wrench out at the dinner table. It was rude or something, or she was trying to, but I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. I'm sure there was something. I can't remember either. We do need to remember to take notes. But yeah, he did definitely bring the wrench out. Yes. So then we cut to Richie's bedroom again. I don't know where all these signs came from. I was trying to remember one of the signs and I can't remember, but it was definitely something that you wouldn't think was sold at a store. So he has all these signs up in his room and he's like, oh, let's get to tutoring Fonzie. And Fonzie's like, oh, no, that's okay. We're just going to cheat. And Richie's like, what? What do you mean cheat? And Fonz is like, you're going to cough. You're going to cough 1 for true. Or no, you're going to cough 2 for true, 1 for false. Richie is not really very excited about having to cheat with Fonzie, especially coughing so much. Do you know what I mean? Let's say there's 20 questions on this test. And let's say, I don't know, 12 of them are true. If I'm doing my math correctly, that's 24 coughs right there, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't that seem very suspicious?
Yeah. I would think after like 3 coughs, the teacher would be like, hey, you okay? You need some water? You need something? But no, Richie really doesn't want to help the Fonz cheat. But I think he, at that point, agrees to it, doesn't he?
Yeah. What if Richie, like, really needs to cough, though, and he accidentally, like, coughs, like, 3 times or something?
That would be something. That's another idea we have that they could use is, yeah, like, let's say Richie, I don't know, has strep throat, which I guess they would have had a doctor, as we saw in the previous episode. But
over a sore throat.
Yeah, over a sore throat. But let's say a strep throat. I don't even know if you call. Let's say Richie has some kind of flu where he's coughing a lot, right?
Yeah.
So he gets the flu overnight somehow, and then he can't stop coughing. Then what would happen then? Would the Fonz go crazy and
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like if Richie gets a real cough and he can't stop coughing, then we cut to the classroom. Richie is a minute late. The teacher's very unhappy that he's a minute late.
So the Fonz, he starts coughing, and he starts coughing really loud, and he's like, what are you guys all concerned about? Like, even though he's coughing all loud around everybody, I'd be pretty concerned.
Yeah, exactly, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
But he was coughing, and that's when Richie tells him that he's not going to help him, right?
Yeah.
And Fonzie's like, well, I expected that, so I have other plans. So he seemingly has a card with all the answers on the girl that's sitting in front of him's sweater that he could see.
Now, here's the thing, right?
Yes.
How did he know to get the answers?
Yeah, how did he know what the questions were? And if he knew what the questions were, couldn't he have just memorized it?
Yeah.
Like, there couldn't have been more than, let's say, 12 questions from the size of that card. But then as he does that, Ralph Malph says he's hot and he needs to take his sweater off, and he gets up and the teacher freaks out. Which, how was Ralph Malph not hot wearing his jacket while he was playing basketball? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
all of a sudden in class, he's all hot.
Yeah, but then in the middle of the test, he's like, I got to take my, and he's like, I got to go hang it up. And the teacher's going crazy. She's like, no one can get out of their seats. Go back. And like, 2 things. One, does he have a cubby? Where is he hanging this jacket up? I didn't see anywhere he could hang this jacket.
There was like nowhere.
Yeah, couldn't he have just put it on the back of his chair?
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. So she's freaking out. But then seconds later, Fonz is like, I'm hot. I need to open the window to get some fresh air. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Fresh air is always a great idea. So yet Ralph Malph, who's probably boiling hot, can't put his sweater up, but Fonz can go and open the window for some fresh air.
Poor Ralph Malph.
Yeah. So he goes, and there's a pigeon on his sheet, I guess, of the other answers. So maybe there were a lot of... The time it took him to find the test and find the answers, he could have memorized all the answers, don't you think? At least enough.
Yeah.
So the bird's moving, then he's like, oh no, which, we do find out that the bird used the restroom in a polite manner, to say it, on Fonz's answers. So Fonz is completely out of luck here. And Richie is about to be out of luck because we cut to, I believe, the school somewhere on the school campus, right?
Yeah.
There's a tree and there's Potsie and Richie. And Potsie, being the great friend that he is, says, gee whiz, Rich, Fonz is going to clobber you. Richie's like, yeah, I know. And Potsie's like, if it'll make you feel better, I'll go with you, right?
Yeah.
And then Richie's like, yeah, that'd be great. And he's like, hey, some kind of best friend you are. You want me to get beat up too? So
that's what he's concerned about?
Yeah, so Potsie's...
Wouldn't it be good for Potsie to go with him?
Yeah.
Because, he's giving him reassurance.
Yeah, maybe it would calm the Fonz down. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's like, oh, you're right. But instead, like, Potsie's just more giving him a false sense of hope that he's going with them. Instead, he's worried that he's going to get beat up. He just wants his best friend to be beat up. So Potsie ends up not going with them. He sees the Fonz. The Fonz had like this big chain with a lock on it, remember?
Yeah.
And he's like moving it. Richie's like, what are you going to do with that chain? I guess he thought, which, man, if Fonzie would have beat him down with that chain, the 1974 network television would have really been something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, that probably would have been the end of Happy Days.
Yeah, then that probably would have been the end of season 1 if Fonzie would have beat Richie down with a big chain. So he's trying to get it, and he's like, oh, I can't get this lock off. And then it ended up like he wasn't too upset. And he got out his test and he said, I did pass. He said, the bird, went to the bathroom. He didn't say went to the bathroom, but I'm just saying it to be kind of clean. He didn't say anything bad. He just said, the bird messed up my answers. And then he said, didn't he say the girl didn't have the right answers?
I think so. Something like that.
Front. Yeah. So all his cheating was for naught anyways, but he still passed. He got a 66%. Just doing the test on his own, and he was excited that he passed. So he gives Richie this chain that he can't get the lock off of. He's going to get another chain. Then he tells Richie he's dropping out again. And Richie's like, why are you dropping out again? And then doesn't he say oh, I'm a great mechanic? Because I think Richie told me he was a great mechanic at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to be a cop because he said cops ride motorcycles. And Richie's like, don't you want to be a cop? And he's like, no, I'm a great mechanic, like you said. So it all kind of comes back to the beginning. So Fonzie drops out again. Then he goes to his motorcycle. He looks at his paper with 66% and kind of gets a happy look on his face, right? Because he passed without having to cheat.
I wonder if I don't know. Do you think he had a lot of passing grades?
I don't know. Did they say why he dropped out?
I don't think they did. From what I can remember, at least.
So I don't know if he just dropped out because he didn't have passing grades. I don't know why he dropped out, but I don't know. I mean, he passed this one, so maybe, he obviously was concerned because, he had Rich, or he just didn't want to do the work and he had Richie cheat for him,
Yeah.
So we think it's the end of the episode. I'm about to turn the DVD player off, but that would have been yet another mistake this week. No, there's one more scene at the dinner table, and I want to bring something up again. Chuck was nowhere to be seen at either of these dinners. And not only that, there was no chair for Chuck. Do you know what I mean? There was an extra chair for Fonz. But you would think when they went back to just the 4 of them, I don't remember seeing a 5th chair. Do you?
No.
Yeah. So usually, even if Chuck kind of visited, you'd think that they'd have a place setting all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, no Chuck. So we go there and Joni's wearing something. I guess she's in the Chipmunks, which I guess might have been something. Maybe they couldn't say Girl Scouts in Hollywood back in the 70s, so they had to say Chipmunks. I don't know why. But yeah, so she had a chipmunk meeting, and she's in her chipmunk outfit. And Marion says something about that, but I have no idea what she said. Then Marion says she needs to use Howard's car to go to the PTA meeting. And Howard's like, my car? How am I supposed to get to work? And Joni says, just Mom will tell you about sex, and then she'll drive you anywhere.
And I believe she had a shocked face, as you would think she would.
Yes.
As you would hope she would.
Yeah, she had a very shocked face. So, yeah. That was the episode. Fonzie drops in. Then we had the end credits where we had Don Most and Henry Winkler at the end, which I think I'm going to just stop saying that until we see them at the beginning, which will ultimately happen. One thing I did want to say is what I thought of, I know we don't play that game, but Fonzie drops in. There was a movie, I think 30 years ago. It was called Dunstan Checks In. Have you ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. And it was this orangutan that somehow comes to a hotel.
Already sounds great.
Yeah, I know. I have to see this. I can't believe I never saw this movie because it's the greatest plot ever. This orangutan, I don't know how he gets in, but I think he's in the hotel and maybe they're trying to find him. I don't know what they're doing for an hour and a half. I don't think that they're just letting him there. You know what I mean? That wouldn't really make sense. It's possible.
Yeah.
But so it was Dunstan checks in, and it was an orangutan. But you know what? Is it orangutan or orangutan? Because there was a movie that Joaquin Phoenix was in, and he's the only person where Joaquin Phoenix like decides to go help rescue orangutans, and every other person in the movie is saying orangutan, but he says orangutan, and he might have even corrected something by saying orangutan. But it was so weird. Have you ever heard orangutan?
Not until now.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was Joaquin Phoenix's method acting. He won an Oscar for The Joker. Can you believe that?
Yeah. And he's saying orangutan.
Yeah.
I can't even say.
Maybe he was trying to get the Oscar early by saying orangutan, and they'd be like, oh, that was great. Did you hear he said orangutan? But yeah, so I think it's orangutan. But getting back to Dunstan checks in, it was an orangutan. And I remember on like the poster, it was the orangutan. And I think they had like, I don't know, maybe they had the hood, but I'm pretty sure that's what it made me think of is Fonzie drops in, Dunstan checks in, and an orangutan. I don't know if I don't think he came to like the front desk and checked in. I think it was more of like, oh, he's checking in, he's here, like, and he's obviously not supposed to be there. I believe it's the plot, but Dunstan checks in. Yes. Maybe if we get enough Patreon donations, we'll do a Dunstan checks in watch along. That would be fun. But yeah, Fonzie drops in. We're still in season 1. Hopefully we make it out of season 1. We're about to find out soon. Season 1.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. Season 1. I seriously don't, everybody. Season 1. Fonzie checks. Wait, now I just said Fonzie. Fonzie drops in. Right? Did I say that right? Fonzie drops in. That was the episode. Is there anything we missed? Any Happy Days thoughts? Any thoughts? Any thoughts on any other movies of orangutan? Anything before we wrap it up?
I think it'd be great if there was some kind of movie, show, or whatnot with the Fonz and an orangutan. I don't know how, do as you please, but I think that would be great with that concept of maybe having a little orangutan pal or something.
I 100% agree. Now, let's stay on the orangutan. What? Now I'm saying orangutan. Let's stay on the orangutan subject here. I'm going to say orangutan. That's how I know it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Pecan. Now, speaking of that, this is very close to that. Do you know who Clint Eastwood is?
No.
Okay. All right. See, this is a good reason why I do this. Well, Clint Eastwood is an actor, director, all that thing, but he was a really big action star. He did Dirty Harry, among other things. This cop, he was a really kind of tough guy actor, right? And he did this movie called Any Which Way But Loose, Any Which Way You Can. There were 2 movies, right?
Yes.
And I say this because his co-star in both of those movies was an orangutan. So I'm getting to like, that would be great if they did the Fonz now with an orangutan, because the precedent has been set. There has been a tough guy with an orangutan movie, but why not a TV show with an orangutan in the Fonz?
I could just imagine that orangutan just sitting like right behind the Fonz too on his little motorcycle.
Yeah, or it would be like one of those, I don't know how to describe it. They have like this like little carrier thing. Have you ever seen those motorcycles? And there's like a little thing on the side where someone might sit. It might be there. I think it'd be better though if the orangutan was on the back.
Yeah.
Of, like kind of holding on to Fonzie as it was riding. Like you'd see his head come up. Would the orangutan wear a helmet, or would he be too? Wait, would Fonzie wear a helmet nowadays or not? What do you think?
No.
What would the orangutan wear a helmet?
I think he'd be like his little. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because it'd be the Fonz. Now, okay, you're not going to believe this. In the 80s, there was a cartoon, because the Fonz was hugely popular, right?
Yes.
Now, do you know who the Fonz's sidekick was? It wasn't an orangutan. Orangutan. Oh my gosh, I can't say it. It wasn't an orangutan. It was a dog.
What?
So we got to Google this sometime. There was a dog, and it was like really popular when I was like really little for a couple years. And like the dog wore a leather jacket. It was a cartoon, mind you, but the dog wore a leather jacket, and like the dog couldn't talk, but he would like bark, and everyone thought he was all cool because he was like the Fonzie dog.
Would he do the thumbs up or thumbs down?
I feel like he did do the thumbs up, but like he would like, just kind of bark. You know what I mean? Like you think it was a cartoon. You know, they do have cartoon animals that talk. Most cartoon animals talk. So you think that he would have talked to me with the Fonz, but I think he just made like dog noises while he wore a leather jacket.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got to see. Yeah. So, yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. I think that there should be animals in most movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And shows. As long as they're treated humanely, of course. So, that's it. Anything else before we go?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, we're about to find out if season 1 of Happy Days will continue. It would be very sad if it stopped right when I discovered there were 2 more discs. But, you know, it might happen. So, season 1 for a little while, maybe if it keeps going, is still happening. And we just saw episode 7, Fonzie drops in. Fonzie went back to school very simply. I don't know if feel like you need to fill out registrations and stuff nowadays, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like proof of where you live, maybe. I don't know. So, Fonzie drops in. That was season 1, episode 7. We're about to find out if this will continue. Do you want to watch another episode?
Whew. Yes.
All right. Good deal. So, the good news is that we'll see at least one more episode of season 1 from this disc. Thank you so much for listening. And the best news, actually, is that the podcast continues for now. So if you like our show, please like it, leave us a great review, subscribe, tell everybody you know about it. If you don't like it, please keep it to yourself.
What's Happy Days?